Buonasera from Sicily, one of the most famous islands in Europe. I am Bernhard Fischer-Appelt, the founder and CEO of one of Europe's largest digital content consulting firms. I'll be presenting together with Dr. Jack Loveridge, with whom I worked throughout my 2 years as a research fellow at Harvard. My expertise lies in strategic communications, which includes narrative building, narrative strategy, and creating what we call a storyverse. 2,500 years ago, this island, Sicily, was the future of Greece, the far western frontier, the island of freedom, representing newness for an older world. Today, Sicily is represented by many other well-known narratives, from the olive oil industry to its famous volcano, Mount Etna. In such a historic setting, it is harder to detect what is new, why is it new, and where is it new. Sicily's ever-changing story tells us a lot about how narratives are formed within predictable patterns. It should remind you that your story fits with the range of many well-known patterns and expectations. In our talk, we'll challenge you to consider these narratives, which you can use if you want to build a future. How to build a future through narratives will be the key takeaway from our talk at South by Southwest 2023. We'll explore a few fascinating cases and identify the key components of narrative strategy. Whatever field you're in, narrative building can help you change attitudes and open minds to the new and the next. So, Jack, if Sicily is a place of Europe's historic futures, what's your point of view from Texas?
Thanks, Bernard, and greetings from El Paso, Texas, my hometown here on the US-Mexico border. My name's Jack Loveridge, and I'm a historian of science and technology. I research and write about how corporations and governments create tools to measure and manage human populations. I've written extensively on the Green Revolution, which was a product of concerns over expanding global populations during the 1950s and 60s. Philanthropists and scientists invested heavily in seed science and agricultural development across the global south, in India, Pakistan, and most notably right here in Mexico. Now here in Texas, we're familiar with our fair share of big narratives. Most are pretty optimistic, like President Kennedy's speech in the early 1960s at a turning point in the space race. We choose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Now, narratives of all sorts have littered the Texas landscape. Texas has always been considered something on the cutting edge, something brand new. Everything from the recent tech boom that's washed over the state, all the way back to the conception of this place as an open space, an empty frontier, ready for the taking. Now, we know that narrative is quite deceptive, and it really mattered who you were if it was going to be seen as a positive or dystopian narrative. But one thing's for certain, narratives are really powerful tools that have been used throughout time by people to shape the future. And so, in our talk, we hope to examine a few really key narratives that we think are very interesting and telling, present you with a framework on how to create narratives of your own, and also analyze the narratives presented to you by other people. And finally, leave you with a toolkit that will help you in communications on an organizational level more generally. So we look forward to seeing you in Austin in March. Thanks, and have a good summer.